Good evening. My name is Matt Lawless, and I'm the Scottsville Town Administrator. You're now viewing the Scottsville Town Council meeting for April 19th, 2021. This meeting is being held pursuant to and in compliance with the Town of Scottsville's ordinance on the continuity of government during the COVID-19 disaster. The public officials who will be electronically present for this meeting are Mayor Ron Smith, Town Council members Lindsey Brown, Zach Bullock, Dan Gritzko, Stuart Munson, and Eddie Payne. Town staff members are also present for this meeting. The public has several opportunities to observe and participate in this meeting. These are listed at the entrance to the town office and on the town website. Participation will include the opportunity to comment on relevant matters. We also have several public hearings on the agenda, noticed in compliance with Virginia law. It is now 12 minutes to 7 local time here now. If you're viewing this recording in the future on the town's YouTube page, thank you very much. You can skip ahead 12 minutes on the video. That's when we'll have our quorum together and start the meeting. I'm going to mute this line for the next 12 minutes while we assemble our quorum. Thank you so much for participating in Scottsville local government. Mr. Maxwell, good evening.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, thank you. We are just getting everybody together here in our room. We'll start the meeting off in
Okay.
just a few minutes. So I'm gonna move this line while we get everybody together.
I just want to say a quick hello to say that I really do exist. Even though after you see me right now, you might not see me much tonight, but I do exist.
So thank you for letting us know, Dan,
Thank you, Dan. I was thinking.
of our imagination.
I was thinking of turning off my video tonight as well, so you won't have to see me sneezing quite as much as I'm about to be. My allergies have really gone haywire.
I was telling the mayor and Matt, I have the odd situation of having where our company is resuming travel and in a very limited way. And I've never had this before, but shortly, I'm helping in three other Zoom meetings in the next couple of hours. So I will be back and forth between different parts of the country shortly, but I won't be with you very long. But I just want to say hello. I really am alive and here. So, hope you all have a great time.
Thank you. I got an email from Laura, I believe you guys did as well, that she won't be with us tonight. So Dan, if you're not going to be here for the full meeting, I think as long as we have everyone else, we should be fine on our quorum.
Yep, there's loser.
You still good for Thursday, the 22nd?
7 o'clock. I guess we'll have a meeting with Donna in the morning. You did on this.
Second speaker.
Where is that? Oh, okay. Oh, speakers. Muted. All right. Okay, check. Another word. I say, Donna, we'll probably want to meet Thursday morning, right? So have a meeting on Wednesday, the 21st.
I think so.
Yeah. 6:59. How about the helicopter on Mars? Wasn't that neat?
Yes, that made my morning.
That's fantastic. There you go.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Mr. Bullock.
Hello, Zach.
Mayor Smith, you have your quorum now with Zach here. We'll need one more if Dan has to step away for any amount of time.
All right. Well, I've got 7 o'clock. You want me to go ahead and start it? Okay. 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started because it's a rather lengthy agenda tonight. So I'll call the meeting to order and ask that we all mute and stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 2, the consent calendar, which consists this evening of the approval of the agenda, the financial report for March of 2021, the meetings for minutes from March 8th work session and the March 15th regular meeting, and the resolution of support for Albemarle County improvements to solid waste management. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented?
I move to accept the consent calendar as presented.
And is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Move on to number 3, public forum. And what we've been doing with the public forum is the same as past couple of mayors have done. If you have something that's not on the agenda and you wish to speak to the council, now's the time to do that. If it relates to some matter that we're going to talk about later, just hold your comments till we get to that point in the agenda and you'll be given the opportunity to speak. So are there any members of the public who wish to speak to council on something that's not on the agenda right now?
I know Mr. Maxwell is interested. Are you able to join us, sir?
Still with us, Jack?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How are you guys doing
Yes, sir.
today?
Good. You're on record, sir. So let us know who you are and where you live, please.
So I'm Jack Maxwell, CEO and founder of a nonprofit here in Scottsville, Tribute to First Person Memorial at the corner of James River Road, Hardware, and Blenheim. And we have an update for you guys to tell you. We have came up with a blueprint, and you guys got my email this morning about the blueprints. It's going to be about 15 by 20 feet wide, and we're going to honor all Alabama County fallen first responders, Buckingham, Nelson, and Fan County, since it's correspondence with our local response area for Alabama County and Scottsville. Also, we have the grand total of between 11K to 34K. We did hire somebody to do the installing of the monument. Is a guy from Barbersville, Virginia, who has family down here, and he's local, so we decided to go with something local. This morning, I sent Matt some pictures of what the memorial is gonna look like. I can show you guys.
Okay, go ahead. I'll set up that screen share here for you.
So we have so far with a head count of who's gonna be honored for the memorial service. We have about over 204 people who have died from retirement. A few people in our local area who died of line of duty, which is one from Scottsville Rescue Squad, one from Charlottesville City Fire Department, Charlottesville Alma Rescue Squad, and a bunch of others around our local region. So I did talk to Appalachian Power, CenturyLink, and a bunch of those folks about the memorial. They're the only thing that's buried under there is a water line, and Appalachian has a power box in that area. So it's gonna go right in that corner of the right side of that intersection. I can't tell if it'd be a right-of-way turn or that'd be affected by the those people turning off of James River Road. Right now, I did talk to a building inspector. They said that I don't need a building permit due to it being effective a landscaping project. So that also saved us tons of money and cost.
Well, congratulations, sir. I'm really impressed with all of the genealogy and community outreach work that you've done. And I appreciate your patience trying to find just the right site to be able to make this work. And I'm glad that you're located in town here in Scottsville, adjacent to the cemetery. I know the cemetery leadership will help you get it done.
Right now I'm on the hand, so that's the monument, that's the blueprints for the memorial. We're adding each first responder has their own thin line flag, so we add those flags and some bushes. And
Okay, any questions for Jack on this? I know we probably will have some when we look at the detailed plans that he's presented. I know he's put a lot of work into this, but we will talk about it at our next work session, Jack, and see how things are progressing.
Jack, I just wanted to say thank you for your heart and your compassion to try to honor those who serve us. So thank you very much. And your civic concern is really cool. I know we all feel that way as a council, so thank you.
Yeah, you've obviously put a lot of work into this, and we appreciate it.
Okay, any other comments from Jack or members of the council?
well, let's keep you guys posted. Right now I'm in the hands of the board of the cemetery people. I know that they haven't had a board meeting yet, so I'm on the hands of those people until they be able to meet in person.
Just let us know how that goes and we'll see what we can do to work with you. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is the mayor's report, and other than what we presented at the work session last week, which will be in the minutes of that work session. Only thing I've done since last Monday basically is kind of introduce myself to new vendors at the farmers market, and met a couple of people that are new to town and tried to explain a few things to them about when they answer their questions. So unless anybody has any specific questions of me, we'll go on to item number 5. I don't know. There it is, Supervisor Price up in the corner. You got anything you want to give us this evening?
Thank you, Mayor. I've actually been out of town all week. I don't have anything today to offer. We do have a Board of Supervisors meeting on Wednesday. and hope that we'll be able to get together later this week to go over that. But thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope everybody was well at home.
Thank you, Mayor. It was really great to be with my 94-year-old father and 90-year-old mother. You know, isolation, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, good. Glad to hear they're doing okay. Committees, report charter committees. Let's see who's on the, let's start with, well, Laura's not here tonight, so the Government Services Planning Commission. Lindsay, would you like to give us just a brief update on anything that's happened since last Monday?
Sure. There are no updates since last Monday.
Okay. This probably holds true for everybody. Eddie, has public safety done anything special in the last week?
We did not meet this month. Next scheduled meeting is the first Monday in May.
Okay, sounds good. How about Mr. Bullock and ARB? Anything?
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Yeah, so just an update from us. Our big work right now is playing catch up with some properties, hopefully this coming month, who constructed fences over the last year without a COA. We have some different approach for each based on how that fence was done. We're also going to be hopefully meeting with property owners who have received certified mail about poor conditions. As part of process, we're going to be keeping a running tally. And, you know, this is something we should be doing anyhow with COAs, but every month keeping a running tally is part of our agenda so that we know where we are with each property and each COA, just for our easy reference related to the inventory and status. The bus depot has seen some action. It was one of our poor rated properties in terms of being unsealed. Some of the doors need to be replaced. Some of that work is currently underway, which is good to see. And we also met with another property owner at 717 Harrison Street, just to clarify our report about the condition of the building. No action was taken, but it was just to clarify to the property owner what we saw. And he was encouraged to attend our next board meeting to discuss those findings and how to move forward.
All right, well, let me ask you and Matt to educate me on something. We're always discussing the entrance corridor and how we want to make a good impression, and we've talked about coming in from Fluvanna from the east. But when you come down Valley Street and you pass Mr. Meeks's two houses, over in the backyard of those houses on Warren, it looks like just a dump. Is there anything that we can do as a town? Anybody have any suggestions of anything we can do as a town to get them to clean that place up? Because that does not present a very pretty picture for anybody coming through town for the first time.
We have one of those houses on our poor condition list. A couple of the others have backyard trash and debris, which is not ARB regulated, but I grant it's unsightly in a neighbor issue.
Yeah. So I don't know what we can do about that, but it's like driving through Columbia, you know?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could add to that list the house that's on the corner of Jackson and East Main Street. They've got washing machines and old cars and stuff stacked up all around there, and it's got to be a health hazard. I mean, I would imagine that there's all sorts of vermin living around in that stuff, and you know, it's just slowly falling. It's slowly degrading and you know, probably leaking oil into the ground and all sorts of stuff like that. So I don't know if we have any sort of an ordinance that, you know,
I know we did.
Something like that, or
we do have an ordinance that says if the homeowner, property owner doesn't cut the grass, we can go cut the grass for him and charge him for that. So I don't know about cleaning up. I don't know. I've never seen an ordinance about cleaning up somebody's property and billing them for that.
Mhm.
Something we can look into. And well, we've got Mr. Munson there. Anything from economic development right now?
Yeah, I had a really interesting conversation with a gentleman who is interested in offering bateau tours from Scottsville starting a year from July. So he's had some experience in recreation operations and has been involved with the Bateau Festival for quite some time. So he and a business partner are going to be looking into the feasibility and sort of setting that up starting July this year. So he was interested in seeing if what sort of parking there was available for people, which Matt and I were able to help him with. And he's also interested in a place where he can pull the boats up or tie the boats up, preferably overnight during the summers. And I offered to help him connect up with James River Reeling and Rafting to see if there might be a way that we could use one of their inlets or their ramps just to tie the boat up overnight. So that's kind of exciting. I think that there's potentially some synergy between the tours and James River Reeling and Rafting. So you could come down and go rafting one day and bateauing the next. So something for everyone. So I think there might be some synergy there. So and then we're sort of slogging along with several things going on with the factory. And every time I think there might be some headway, there's not. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. I went by to see Kathy Mars Saturday. She, of course, you may all know, she moved next door to the old veterinarian's office and expanded her operation. And she will be having a grand opening of the new facility on May the 8th. So plan on being there if anybody wants to stop by and congratulate her on her new and better facility. That would be on May the 8th. Also, she now provides boarding services for pets. And if your pet is there overnight, somebody for either Kathy or somebody from her family spends the night in the building with the animals. So they're not.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Wow.
She didn't, if she told me the time for the May 8th event, it's gone by now. But I imagine it will be, in the morning, and I'll check with her and get that word back to you. Okay, anything else from any committees, or I think we covered everything on that.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment before I head out. I wanted to say, those of you who are interested in the Parks Committee, please contact me. We have not actively met for a while, but we will be in the coming months. I also want to, maybe Matt, you could mention something about the event this weekend that Laura has set up. Just think it's good, just a reminder of the event going on in terms of the town cleanup.
Yes, of course. That's the well-oiled machine that we've got of town litter cleanup. That's convening Saturday, running around the same time frame as the farmers market. So we've got the word out there, and it's a great opportunity to make a difference in town, meet some neighbors, and help keep things looking good along the sides of the roads. I always find it interesting of what I can grab for recycling on a day like that, and it's a satisfying way to spend an hour or so on Saturday morning. So come on down to the farmers market if you'd like to join the crew with the trash picker and orange bag and shiny dust.
Okay. The president of the Chamber of Commerce has just entered the council chambers, and I'll ask Linda if she has anything she'd like to say to the council, unless it's pertaining to a specific item on the agenda, and if it is, we'll cover it when we get there.
Is this the agenda?
Probably not. It doesn't look like one.
Thank you. And you're on the town cleanup?
You'll have to join us up a little bit closer here. That's my microphone.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on down.
You may approach the bar.
So you're on the town cleanup, is that right? Okay. So the chamber has been notified to help participate in the town cleanup.
Thank you.
My concern is the town and the places around the trees and how poor they look. I also had a meeting with somebody the other day about the space in front of their building and how that needs to be fixed. So I think that may be something the town needs to look at as a business that's not contempt. But the chamber will be is notified. I've already put out one email, put out another email. The chamber board is meeting tomorrow evening. We have not been active because I'm not technologically savvy. That's why I'm here. I couldn't get on the thing tonight. So we are meeting. The board is meeting tomorrow. If anybody wants to come, you're more than welcome to come. So we can just regroup and get more organized for the coming year since we can meet in person. We'll be in the beer garden behind the brewery, just so we can be outside. And if anybody wants to imbibe, I don't really care.
What time?
5 o'clock.
Okay.
So please join us if you'd like to. Looks like I'm probably having a pretty good turnout for my board, which is very nice.
Very good. Any council members have any questions for Linda?
No, but I just follow up. Thank you, Linda, for coming tonight. The condition of the sidewalk, I also noted this week, which I'm assuming is due to the Columbia gas work that was done a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and there's a couple dangerous spots, by the way.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering, since they dug it up, I mean, it seems to me they would be the ones responsible for putting it back.
Right, but what I'm talking about around the trees and then places that had gravel, stones removed and nothing done with them, except now there's just weeds. And the other thing is I looked at the backhoe park, which is pretty sad looking. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
We just need a lot of cleanup. If we're gonna ask people to come to our town, we need to make it look attractive. That when they drive through, they want to stop. Just go to Waynesboro, drive through the main street of Waynesboro. I tend to stop, drive through the main street of Stanton. It's well appointed, and that's where we need to be headed in our little town. If we're going to attract businesses, keep our businesses, and then have people go, oh, I'm just not driving through. And that's what people do. They drive through. So, and having owned a business down here for 13 years, we know that for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think
that's a point well taken. And I think, to the first bit though, I think it would be good for the town to get feedback from Columbia Gas about the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And what the condition is and what their plan is for solving that problem. I know Laura has been working as part of government services to get a crew together for Canal Basin Square to take a look at those boats. I have not heard any updates about that. I was actually going to ask her tonight about that, but I know she's been working to get some people to at least do some things for the boats down there. And those are also part of our discussion about this money that's come our way from the federal government recently about where some of that needs to go. So it's on our radar anyway. And anyway, so
I think this is better with the sidewalk thing. You're right, very much, Zach. The other day, my husband came down to do something because they're moving out of the lodge hall, and all the bricks were scattered everywhere, and he physically had to pick them all up so they weren't in the road. So yeah, it was not good. But hopefully we'll have chamber members on Saturday. I definitely will be here with my gloves and little stuff. So
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting the chamber moving again and hopefully getting more businesses involved and working together with the town council.
Great. Well, we appreciate you coming down this evening.
Thank you. If I was technologically savvy, I would have been like Zach sitting in my living room.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if you can make that meeting tomorrow night at 5 at the brewery, I would see what the chamber's all about. Item number 6, items for discussion and action, and item A is the big one there, proposed budget for fiscal year 2022. And so I'm just going to, what I would like to do is I don't think we should make a decision on the budget tonight, but we need to talk about the budget tonight. And I'd like to have a meeting at 7 o'clock on Thursday night to hammer out any issues that we have,
so that Matt can go ahead and have time to arrange for the publication of notice for the public hearing in May, and we can put this budget thing to bed at the May meeting. So I'm going to ask Matt to take over for a few minutes here.
Okay. So if you care to call an additional meeting, you can certainly do that as action item here. You're right about the timeline. It helps staff quite a bit to shoot for the normal May adoption of our budget so that we can wrap everything up and get ready for audit before the end of the fiscal year. Working backwards from that, the budget requires its own public hearing and vote, and we have to publish the outline of the budget a month in advance, giving notice of what all the tax rates are and what the category spending within the budget is. So the focus of a special meeting could be final discussion around tax rates, getting ready for the maximums there, and the maximum levels of budget categories. Council can adopt a budget and tax rates that are lower than what is advertised. Council cannot adopt category spending levels or tax rates that are higher than what is advertised. So it's a little bit like Price is Right. Advertise the highest that you think you'll need, and then be ready to debate and adopt lower than that if you need to. Most of the budget focus has been around some initial goals for American Rescue Plan Act funding. We continue to get more detail about how that funding will work, but it provides a big opportunity for the town to make major investments, catch up on some of the basic housekeeping that's been neglected, like Mr. Callahan described, and also to invest in big picture items that might not have been attainable before. That's within under the aegis in the bill of supporting our local economic recovery. And just to give a very quick, small example, the streetscape beautification, just like our chamber president said, that's what brings people to town, encourages people to stop and look around, for tourists to be here longer and support the local economy. And that's what helped turn a tourist into a resident and an investor. So it's well justified to turn the rescue plan funding into maintenance and investment in how our town looks to the public. We also have a number of service opportunity improvements to step up what we do as a town. And that connects to some of the other agenda items on down the line. We've had some work session time on this, but I know that we don't have the full council here tonight. I'm happy to go into more detail on the budget recommendation if you care to, or if you just like to call that meeting for Thursday, we can give notice to that.
I personally would like to go ahead and call the meeting for Thursday, and everybody do your homework and come prepared to ask questions, and Matt Thomas will be prepared to make answers.
I will do a few different budget scenarios and summaries of different projects so that you can see some numbers on what the ARP project options are and what the budget might look like at different tax and spending levels. That's what we talked about last week.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be very helpful. I think, to sort of paraphrase Laura from our last meeting, I think it would be helpful to go with those options through each section and just talk about where the money is going for each category. I know I have questions about that. And then also as part of this conversation, being able to articulate, what money is being spent on just the stuff that's operational, the things that we need to do every year to keep things moving forward. And then what is the special funding for, in terms of capital projects and the things we want to make sure we hit in the next 4 years that's outside of our regular operations, but that we want to make sure we put special monies into. So that would be helpful for me as well.
All right, is everyone available to meet on Thursday evening?
Yep.
7 o'clock Zoom meeting. And Matt will make sure.
Yes, sir.
Matt will ensure that everybody has everything they need so they can ask the questions they need to ask. And we'll go ahead and get this thing finished up Thursday night.
Yeah. And Matt, when will you be able to get that to us by tomorrow? I mean, the mock-up, so that we have time to look at it beforehand?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions about the budget at this point? That's the only topic we're going to talk about on Thursday night, just budget. Item 6B, DMV select contract and job descriptions. Before I ask Matt to get into that briefly, when he mentioned the term major investment, this is DMV to me is sort of a major investment. It's like it's something that people need. I haven't heard nothing negative about it from people I've talked to in town, and it's going to bring people to town to spend money in restaurants and everything else around here. So let me turn it over again to Matt, and he and Thomas are the most knowledgeable on the DMV Select project.
Okay, sir. What we have on agenda at this point is the contract arrangement with Virginia DMV to operate a DMV Select, and review of the job descriptions for the positions that are associated with it. I'll be happy to go over those in detail here shortly, but those are items that require council approval before we go ahead with them. We had work session time on the DMV Select contract, and Government Services Committee held a couple of meetings going over these job descriptions to get those right. So I'll share those up here in just a minute. The DMV Select is kind of a franchise arrangement with the State Department of Motor Vehicles to complete some of the simple DMV transactions at sites that are separate from their main customer service centers. The ones closest to here are at Pantops and down in Farmville. You'll recognize DMV Select from their services at the Dillwyn car repair shop or the Palmyra grocery store. Those are good examples of DMV Select working in a private business, but DMV actually prefers to put those in local government partner offices. They find those to be a little bit more reliable. Although to the credit of Thomas Store, they've been working successfully there for decades. The one in Dillwyn at the car shop is closing.
Both of those locations.
That's right. The one in Dillwyn at the car shop is closing in June. So DMV feels a little bit of urgency to try to replace that in this area. So they've offered that contract to us. It would involve the town expanding its staff and renovating some office space to set up a new customer service area for thousands of transactions a year as people come in on an appointment basis to work with us on basic vehicle services. We wouldn't be doing driving tests on the roads here. We wouldn't have an eye test machine. But for processing titles, renewing registrations, some of the basic transactions, it saves folks a trip farther afield. And I think importantly, brings the traffic down in town. The town hall parking lot would be full most days with a busy DMV operation. And our expectation would be that would bring folks to town, encourage them to do some shopping as part of the visit trip. So we hope it will help revitalize downtown activity, and that would give it a nexus to the American Rescue Plan and justify use of those funds to help start it up. If I may, show you that DMV contract and job descriptions for your consideration now. While I grab those, Mr. Unsworth, could I trouble you to go over the timeline as you see it here?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a slow internet connection tonight, so I apologize if this gets laggy. Let me know and I'll turn off my video. Like Matt said, the first couple of things that we need to take care of are officially signing the contract and approving the job descriptions, because these are new positions. Town council would need to review and approve those before we can start any hiring. If we get that going this month, then hopefully by this time next month, when Government Services Committee meets, we'll be reviewing the first candidates for our manager's position, which would be the first one we need to get hired. And finalizing the bid contract or the bid packet. I gave you a sort of brief description of the renovation that we're looking for in the project proposal. But we need to refine that into a full request for proposal and choose a contractor before the start of July. July is really our window for construction here. We have a couple other things that'll go on in tandem with that, but mostly it'll be advertising, which will be handled by the new manager position that we're hoping to have on staff in July at the start of the fiscal year, and construction. That would get us ready by the beginning of August to bring on the part-time staff, move into the new office space, and begin training with the DMV, all in about a 2-week span there at the beginning of August. And that would all have us on track to be opening on Monday, August 16th. Several steps of that through the request for proposals, selecting a proposal or selecting a contractor for the renovation, doing all of the hiring, all of that sort of stuff will run through the government services before escalating anything that needs to get escalated to you guys. Yeah, that's roughly what we're hoping for.
Yeah, I think from an economic development perspective, this is a great idea. I mean, I think to the mayor's point, it's going to increase traffic flow through town. It's going to increase restaurant patronage. I think it'll bring people into Scottsville who have not been before, haven't been in a while. So I think it's a really smart thing to do, and the timing couldn't be better with the federal funding that we're going to be getting as well too. I think it would make sense to use some of this for that.
Matt or Thomas, got a question.
Please go ahead.
When Matt was given his opening, I missed part of the conversation. He said that the you would have to make an appointment. Is that because we're going to have part-time employees, or is that temporary because of the pandemic?
It was a change that DMV made related to the pandemic, but they have found it to be an improvement to their process. Historically, you come to the DMV and there's always a line and it's first come, first served. During COVID, they switched to an appointment system and found that customer satisfaction improved. You come at the time of your appointment, there's not so much of a line, and it moves people through a little more efficiently. So DMV requires us to set up an appointment-based system. We might have 10-minute increments available throughout the day. We'll have this thing open every day during the week, including some Saturday availability. You make a 10-minute appointment. If someone shows up without an appointment, I think the customer service approach would say, just look at the appointment book and put them in on the next available appointment. So you might come in at 4 p.m. and I'll say, oh, nobody has my 4:20 appointment today. You've got the 4:20 now. Either sit in line for 20 minutes or go next door, get a cup of coffee and come back. Does that make sense?
The DMV will also, they have a central call center. I forget where in the state it was, but they'll advertise that phone number as our location's phone number. And the people in that call center will be able to book appointments through our online appointment system over the phone with anybody who would rather do it over the phone than over the internet. And that will help take that booking transaction off of our part-time staff, keep them off of the phones and keep them able to focus on the transactions that they're doing.
Are we going to advertise this as a town? Say, for example, with Dillon, that facility closing in June, half of Buckingham County will probably be heading this way instead of Farmville. Maybe in the local periodicals there, or what if we have an Albemarle in Fluvanna County? Are we going to advertise that we're open for business?
Yes, sir. The DMV itself will help us with some marketing to roll this out. And we'll do the best that we can with newspaper press releases. We have a small radio buy that's been running that we can put this on. The word that we've heard as it's gone through the grapevine already has been excited. And we'll push that to make sure it launches strong. If the appointment book isn't full, it's not doing us any good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let me share these contract details as the action items. Can you see this agreement on screen?
Yes.
So this is what we looked at on work session last week. It's an annual agreement, know this, so either party can revoke year to year if it's not working out, permanent agreement. So DMV has the right to rescind it if the service isn't meeting their standards. They don't do that often, but if the other party is unsatisfied, they can terminate year to year. DMV lists specifically what transactions can be done in a select service. License plates, disabled parking decals, driver transcripts, titles and registration. They also list what we cannot do at this facility. Working directly with large car dealerships for their titling. Foreign market transactions, detailed customer records, issuing new driver's license. It's a fairly limited scope of services, but it is busy. We're training through the DMV. In many cases, going to Richmond for training once that becomes available. We'll be able to sell hunting and fishing licenses at this facility.
Wow.
As well as Easy Pass transponders. That might not be so common because we're pretty far from a toll road. But if someone is going up to DC, Richmond, or Hampton Roads often, they might get an Easy Pass transponder from us. We will maintain a secure and clean, ADA accessible facility. The DMV staff have already inspected our office and said that it's pretty good to go as far as bathrooms, elevators, entrance. We just need to renovate the office space for our 2 or 3 staff to work. Network security and electronic services are important here. We have and most of the DMV work actually happens over a secure internet connection to Richmond. So that's how the work will be done. We have to post and maintain regular hours, a minimum of 35 per week. So we expect Monday through Friday and very likely some weekend and Saturday hours in the mornings. That will help line up with the farmers market and other Saturday events that we have here. Of course, all of this is done in a non-discriminatory way with equal services available to everyone. Voter registration is one of the services that we'll be able to offer here. ADA compliance is important, so we have the elevator up to the 2nd floor office and clear, accessible access to a handicap bathroom.
Yeah, sir.
Go ahead. DMV will provide us with signs to improve wayfinding to this facility, and we'll use the existing parking lot that we have.
The question about this is the DMV sign going to comply with our sign regulations, or do they just do what they want to do?
We will be up on an ARB agenda with our signage plan. Here in
There's only one of the DMV signs that should need ARB approval, and that's the one that we'll actually put on the building itself. The rest of them will be on signposts in entrance corridor areas. And any kind of VDOT wayfinding sign like that is exempt from those sorts of ARB things. But for the one we actually hang on Victory Hall, we'll submit the permit to the ARB next month, or if not next month, the following one.
The new hires have a background check process that works with our police department. We send the results to DMV. DMV does have a veto on the background check results based on what we find there. So we'll work with them on the recruiting. DMV procedure governs a lot of this. Our new staff are going to be trained to VDOT standards. They want to assure an equivalent level of service. We'll have daily financial transactions. A member of our team going to the bank every day to deposit the money collected. And then on a monthly basis, DMV remits a percentage of that collection back to us. So that's the financial arrangement.
We'll actually have an entirely separate bank account, a joint account with the state for the DMV transactions, and all money that comes through the DMV needs to be handled separately and go just to that account. And then they'll remit monthly to our general fund through the state remittance system that we get our communications tax and other things through.
Training together, either party may terminate. Confidentiality applies on one hand, Freedom of Information Act on the other. Securing all of the personal information is an important part of the nature of this work. Our same audit laws, as we already do, apply. And that is that agreement.
If I could
go ahead.
just expound on one detail there. In the finance section where they talk about that remittance, it cites a section of state code that sets the rate at which we're compensated for our transactions. The state code has been set at 3.5% since 2006. DMV since then has been carrying an improvement of 1% on that in their state budget that gets passed every year. But that's essentially how they have ticked that number up for the last 15 years or so. If there are any concerns about this not being a break-even proposition, those would probably be shared by other municipalities that are running this service and helping DMV to take care of the pressure on their customer service locations. And so changes to that could be what helped change the financial balance of this project in the future.
True. So related to the contract is the job descriptions. We need a certain amount of lead time to advertise and hire on these jobs in order to start in mid-August as DMV is hoping for. So Government Services has worked these job descriptions and reported them out. These are based heavily on the same type of job descriptions at a DMV customer service center, with some language coming from the town's own job descriptions. So what we're looking at is a supervisor and 2 of these clerks. The supervisor is a full-time with benefits job. The clerks are part-time. These pay bands are competitive or a little higher than what DMV is posting themselves. So I think we would be attractive for somebody with DMV experience. We're expecting mostly DMV select work, processing those transactions, collecting payments, maintaining the data. We expect them to get a notary and provide that service to the public as well. Our supervisor will be checking the work of the 2 other clerks, coaching that team, resolving any disputes with the public, helping the clerks prioritize their work, doing reports, helping with the advertising and outreach, and troubleshooting the office equipment. We hope to pull a little bit of their time into other town project support, serving as a general point of contact for the public, or jumping on the occasional other town project when we need all hands on deck. We're looking for a high level of teamwork, customer service skills, learning and following all of the DMV procedures and running that computer system, but also working courteously with all manners of the public in a professional way. Working under some pressure during high workload periods is going to be a full appointment book, and also handling the DMV standard technology with their training. So our ideal candidate will have previous work experience in a DMV. I think this is an opportunity to add Spanish proficiency to the team as well. But our minimum qualification is someone with a high level of customer service experience, learning and applying procedure, being physically on site during the regular schedule. The work is not physically demanding, but requires attention to detail, customer service, and computer skills. The clerk job is similar at a little bit lower level, highly focused on the DMV select transactions. The transaction list is the same, again, processing money, working with the public, handling technology, and maintaining confidentiality and information security. Also serving as a general receptionist in the town, helping with some correspondence and other town projects. High level of customer service skills, working to deadlines with technology, and working courteously with the public. We're not requiring college education on this job. but experience working in customer service, courteously to the public and technology. So if that is clear, action on the job descriptions and the DMV select contract would be in order.
Are you saying then we can vote to execute this contract?
If you wish.
And approve the job descriptions if you would. And that's the other step of this we need.
That can all be wrapped into one motion.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's first let's ask for any comments from council before we ask for a motion. Any comments, pro or con? If not, then I'll ask for a motion to execute the contract with DMV and authenticate the job descriptions as presented.
I move that we execute the contract with DMV and that we accept the job description as written.
And do I hear a second?
I will second that.
Now, is there any other discussion on the matter? If no motion, discussion is forthcoming and the motion has been made and seconded, then I'll ask for the town clerk to call the vote.
Yes, sir. Councilor Brown,
Yes.
Councilor Bullock,
Yes.
Councilor Kritzko. May not be with us still. Councilor Kritzko, are you there? Okay. Councilor Munson
Yes.
and Councilor Payne.
Yes.
Thank you all very much. The motion carries.
Thank you so much. I think this is going to be a major thing for the town. And like Eddie said, all those folks in Buckingham, they're not going to drive to Farmville. They're going to come this direction. While they're here, they might as well go up to the shopping center, hit the restaurants down on Valley Street, and go to the brewery.
Mhm.
That's a full day. That's a full day.
They have one before they drive back to Buckingham. Thank you so much. I think we'll be happy we did this. Next on the agenda, item 6C is a special use permit for 501 Valley Street. We've been over this a number of times, and the first thing we need to do is have a public hearing on this matter. Let me ask Matt to just a brief. I will open the public hearing. Matt can briefly tell the public, as we have one member in our council chamber, what this is all about.
Yes, sir. The property in question is this little building here, which has a mixed commercial history. There's been a number of small businesses there. For the past several years, it's been used as a residence and has a special use permit, which is necessary for residences on ground floor buildings in commercial zones. When it was first approved, that permit had a review period every 5 years. The owner, Mr. Heinz Dadian, has applied to renew the permit, but also to remove the 5-year condition. He doesn't feel that a 5-year review period is necessary or justified. Planning Commission held their own public hearing and recommended to approve the special use permit to continue the residential use without a time limit.
Any members of the public wish to speak to this matter? That being in the negative, we will close the public hearing and we'll open it up to council discussion. Any discussion before we take a motion on this?
Matt, how long has it been in residence?
About 5 years.
About 5 years. Okay. And we haven't had any problems in 5 years.
I don't have record of complaints, and no complaints came up when this new permit application arose.
Okay.
So if we would have a 5-year review, and I guess it would be due, just about this time, we haven't had any problems and we don't see any problems. So I would tend to agree with Mr. Gadian. Thanks.
Any other comments from council? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the special use permit?
I will make a motion to approve the special use permit at 501 Valley Street.
And is
I
it,
will second.
it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Been moved and seconded, no discussion, then we'll call for the vote. Mr. Unsworth.
Yes, sir. Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Bullock?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Gritsko, are you with us? Okay, Councilor Munson?
Yes.
And Councilor Payne?
Yes.
Thank you all very much. The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Item 6D, the vacation of the unused right-of-way of Clement Street between Valley and Harrison. We've talked about this on several occasions, so at this point, I will open the public hearing on that matter and ask if any members of the public present wish to speak.
I'd like to hear what you guys have discussed on it.
Okay, we'll let Mr. Lawless explain.
Okay, can folks online and in the room see this map okay?
Yeah.
The vacation here is not such a fun one. It means to vacate or surrender a piece of land. In this case, we're talking about the old Clements Street between Valley and Harrison. The town was planned in 1818 with public rights of ways along a grid of streets where Mr. Scott gave up certain portions of his land for the street to be built and maintained by the public in order to maximize the value of all of the other lots. A number of those streets became the Valley, Harrison, Main Street that we see today, but other portions of them were never actually built, mostly because the street grid, as it was laid out on a flat map, didn't consider the slope of the land and the hills. So for example, in 2019, Town Council vacated the portion of Holman Street up above Jackson Street. It was still in the public right of way, but no Holman Street was ever built there because the land is up to 2 feet. The public right of way didn't serve any purpose. We have the same situation on this block of Clement Street between Valley and Harrison. Clements between Harrison and Page does serve a useful purpose as an alley, and this is a town-maintained street. The town is responsible for the maintenance of it, not VDOT. Most of these streets were given over to VDOT in the 1920s and have paving, but a few other little segments of them remain town-controlled as alleys or trails. A good example of the trail is Lindsay Street on the hill between Harrison and Valley is walkable as a pedestrian path. We can certainly improve that with some stairs. That's not the case on Clements between Harrison and Valley. It's steep, and the buildings built in the 20th century actually encroach this right of way. So the petition to vacate comes to us from the property owner, Mr. Decker and Ms. Morell, whose home, which dates to the early 20th century, is built into this right of way. That wasn't an issue in the past when maybe surveys and title searches weren't as good, but it does create today an encumbrance on their title and would make it difficult, a little more difficult for them in the future to sell their home. So they petitioned for the vacation, meaning that the town would surrender its land, which is 15 feet wide between these streets, and all of the adjacent properties would gain a small sliver of land. I don't see any effect on town policy, and the staff report would be favorable.
Since we have opened our public hearing, now I'll ask if any members of the public present would like to speak. I'm getting a nod no from our member of the public here. So I will close the public hearing unless there's someone on the Zoom meeting that is a member of the public that would like to speak. And no one answering that question. We will close the public hearing and we will turn back to council. And any discussion before one of you makes a motion? I'll ask for a motion by someone on council that we vacate the unused right of way of Clements Street between Valley and Harrison Street.
I move that we vacate the right of way between Clements and Valley Street.
And is there a
Sorry,
second?
Clement Street between Harrison and Valley.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
I will second that.
And now is there any further discussion by council? Hearing none, then we'll ask the clerk to call the roll and ask for the vote.
Yes, sir. Councilor Brown,
Yes.
Councilor Bullock,
Yes.
Councilor Gritsko, are you with us?
Yes,
Thank you very much. Is that also your vote?
yes,
Okay. Councilor Munson
Yes.
and Councilor Payne.
Yes.
Thank you all very much. The motion carries.
Thank you. Item E, 6E, zoning text amendment and zoning map amendments. Matt, would you like to bring us up to speed on what we need to do next?
I'd be happy to. I'd also happily defer to our planning commission representative on council if she would rather.
Okay, how about it, Ms. Brown? You want to?
I will. Nope, please, Matt, go ahead. I think you'll be able to provide in way more detail.
Planning Commission spent several months since November of last year considering a handful of updates to the town's zoning ordinance. The last time that town council acted on something like this was in 2019, making updates to the downtown residential portion of the zoning ordinance that had previously been named R3. As you'll recall then, Planning Commission did some research work identifying inconsistencies in that zoning ordinance where it didn't actually describe very well the actual built environment of the town, and cleaning up the ordinance so that it better described what we had to make it useful for historic preservation. Planning Commission took on some similar work here in the past few months related to the West Downtown Small Area Plan implementation. As the town sets goals for a sustainable and balanced development in the West Downtown area, updating zoning became an important implementation aspect of that. We looked at the zoning ordinance that we had and found that it didn't support very well the kinds of uses that we hope to see in the future. So updating the zoning ordinance becomes an important implementation action. So you can represent to a property owner or an investor, yes, you can do these things, and town council will tend to be supportive of them. The town's comprehensive plan from 2018 also identifies a lot of needs for updates to the zoning ordinance. By and large, the town zoning ordinance goes back fairly well unchanged to 1994, when the town's boundaries expanded and took in a larger portion of Albemarle County. The town, by and large, adopted the Albemarle County zoning that was in place for those parcels at that time, so that the new town residents would not be, they wouldn't suffer a jarring change to the land use rules affecting their property. So the town zoning ordinance is pretty much Albemarle County's from 1994. and it behooves us to study what we have and make sure that it serves the purposes of town council's goals today. With that in mind, Planning Commission took on 3 sections of the zoning ordinances, roughly 20 chapters, as first priorities for action. So you can see those changes here. The first one is the opening of the ordinance, chapter 1 on intent. This is a fairly straightforward change to the purpose and scope of what a zoning ordinance is, but it helps by way of introduction. So there's no change here. You'll see the red line and bold as the change. What legislative purposes does a zoning ordinance serve? These are defined in state law pretty extensively, defining a local government's land use powers. These bullet points of the purpose of the ordinance are copied from state code. Since 1994, the Commonwealth of Virginia has updated the scope of zoning a little bit and has added one more bullet point related to affordable housing. It is the responsibility of a town and its planning bodies to consider the needs of the community for affordable housing, and in the long term, make sure that adequate affordable housing for everyone is provided. The town's ordinance didn't say that and didn't match state code. So this is an important point of consistency. The only other change in this chapter is updating the vision statement, kind of defining in broad terms what we're about here, so that it simply matches the comprehensive plan. So the town council updated the comprehensive plan in 2018, but didn't make the corresponding update to the zoning ordinance. So this text matches the comprehensive plan now. There's no other change. We're not using law to regulate the cordial manner of our citizens. We're not talking about the morals and order of the folks who live here, but we remain focused on character, historic, natural, and scenic areas, and a thoughtful and harmonious development plan. This simply brings the zoning ordinance vision statement in alignment with the comprehensive plan. Nothing else in this section changes. Any questions there? Okay. Chapter 3 of the zoning ordinance is an extensive definitions list, defining the terms that appear everywhere else in the ordinance. There were a few terms that appear elsewhere in the ordinance which weren't properly defined, so you would invite debate on what those terms are. This definitions list is pretty extensive and mostly does not change. We add one new definition here. This is in anticipation of future regulations, an accessory dwelling unit. We have several of these in town which are unregulated. That's something of a gray market use that's going to need some attention in the future. So look for this coming forward. This is a standard definition used in many other ordinances. When you have an in-law suite or a cottage on your property where someone is living, how do you define that small residential use? Now, these things may be permitted, regulated, restricted, or banned, but before we do any of that, we need to have a definition of what they are. So we add that definition to this chapter in anticipation of making some rules on it in the future. No changes through all of these. The next one that changes is, oh, it's good to point out, duplex is simply defined that way. That'll be relevant for 2 others that are coming here further down. We have a slight name change here, no change to the substantial definition of a family, but this section previously referred to R3. We renamed that section in previous ordinance. So we just matched that up here now. So you see how many terms are involved which need to be defined. That's important. The next one coming up is quadruplex here. That is, it's a term that we need to define because it's listed as a land use in several of our zoning sections, but it wasn't previously defined. So one could debate what a quadruplex was. This is our definition here. Quad, 4 families, with common walls and internal divisions. This is important. What makes it different from a townhouse is that not more than 2 of the unit's entrances are on the same facade. We have opposition in much of the community to large townhouse developments, and some townhouse clusters are as small as 4 little units in a row. In some zones, we prohibit townhouses, but do allow quadruplexes. What makes a quadplex different from a 4-unit townhouse is that only 2 of those entrances are on the front. So from the front, it looks like a duplex, and then the other 2 dwellings in it have to be tucked away with their primary entrances on the sides, back, top, or bottom in some other configuration. That's what makes a quadruplex different from a townhouse, where all 4 of the entrances are on the same face fronting the street. We do the same thing down here with triplex. Same definition, 3-family dwelling with common walls, only 2 of the entrances are on the front. So it looks like a duplex, and then the 3rd unit is tucked off with an entrance on the side, rear, top, or bottom. Nothing else changes in this ordinance, and side yard is the last of the defined terms. Are there questions on definitions? Okay. The last one that the Planning Commission looked at was village residential. This one's a little more complicated and does have substantial changes that affect property rights in much of the town, but it felt important and urgent because this is the category of zoning where we would likely see future residential development and where there's the strongest demand in the current market. So they feel a certain sense of urgency in using this. The changes are important, but fairly straightforward. What village residential purports to do is encourage residential developments in town designated for village. We look for a variety of housing types. We try to provide incentives for development by allowing variations in construction type. We want compact development, and we want to fill in vacant areas. These purposes have not actually been achieved since the creation of the zone in 1994. Town Council has never successfully approved and seen to construction a village pattern cluster development within this zone. There have been a couple of occasions of properties permitted but not built, but the market conditions haven't worked out, and the structure of these incentives have clearly been insufficient to actually get anything built. Our town plans call for a modest amount of new residential growth, so this ordinance needs to change in order to meet its stated purpose. The Planning Commission accomplishes this by providing a slight incentive on by right duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplexes so that they can be built on a single lot the same size as a single family dwelling. If you have a lot that's big enough for a single family house, you ought to be able to put a duplex, triplex, or quadruplex on the same lot instead of having a lot that's triple or 4 times the size. That provides a little bit of by right opportunity, but the stronger change is here in cluster developments. Cluster developments always require a special use permit, so you're not granting any carte blanche to a builder. They need to show a site plan, have the public hearing, and get the special use permit approved, as we've just seen done this evening. But this is a significant meaningful increase in the density and lot size bonuses available for cluster development when you have public water and sewer. Without those public utilities, the lot sizes need to be a lot bigger and houses need to be farther apart so that everyone can have a proper well and especially a septic drain field. But when the public utilities are available, Planning Commission thinks that a larger density and a smaller lot size with somewhat smaller setbacks can be advisable. This lot size makes it possible to have that duplex or quadruplex community. Again, no townhouses. 4 units per acre is significantly more than what's available in the rural pattern conventional development, but it's still a lot less than downtown residential, where we have 8 units or even 10 units per acre, in fact, on the built-up area of, say, Harrison Street. So we're less than that, but more than the rural area, provides transition. The special use permit plan needs to include 33% open space. That's an increase from the 25% that was there in the previous ordinance. That's the trade-off. A builder gets a little more cluster density, but has to provide more open space. So if they're working a 9-acre site, they have to provide a 3-acre big open space, which gets us perhaps a baseball field or a significantly preserved wetland park or hillside natural area. As you can see, the allowable building types do not include townhouses. That is struck from the ordinance. So the most intensive pattern that you would see is a cluster of triplexes and quadruplexes. Planning Commission asked a little bit on how this would play out in development. So I tried to sketch up a couple of diagrams on that. This is a hopefully not too hard a way of explaining this. Considering an area 6 acres parcel big, the by right option would be to split these up into lots like this. So this doesn't require any special permitting, but would be allowed with the change. You could do a duplex or a single house. You could have the duplex share a lot line. You could put a fourplex on it like this, or you could have a small commercial use on site. But each of these lots has to be 60,000 square feet big. In the cluster ordinance, with the same size piece of land, you can do more, but we're not talking townhouse rows or apartment buildings. You can see some singles, some quads, some triples. These are buildings that are sharing walls, but look like one large house. Each structure is only 1,500 square feet, but they can fit on these lots with these setbacks as provided. And then with that 6-acre parcel, here you've got almost a full-size soccer field of open space, which is protected and shared. But with, in this case, 33 houses on the 6-acre site instead of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. So you get from 10 by right up to 33 by special use permit. That's what council would be considering improving. Questions about village residential? This one's a little harder and more important, so I'm happy to go into more about how this would work.
The diagram was helpful. I appreciate
really
that, so thank you. I mean, I want to congratulate staff in the planning commission, because I think that's I think about the Seth McDowell sketch that was in the West Downtown Small Area Plan, and that really seems to be in harmony with that, which extends that neighborhood coming down Bird Street in a really authentic manner, and I think that's a workable plan. My cat thinks so too. That I think will keep the character of the town moving down that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this one came forward from planning commission, but it doesn't need town council action tonight. Provide the briefing just as an important topic and raising public awareness. The action before you, if you please, is to move this ahead to its public hearing, action next convenience. We also had a discussion from a council member back at work session to combine this with some zoning map amendments. Thinking that might be helpful for understanding all of this. Mr. Munson, would you like to speak to your intent on that?
I'm sorry, man, I couldn't quite understand what you said.
Would you like to speak to your intent on the zoning map amendments as well?
I still can't understand you.
I'm sorry. You were interested in zoning map amendments as well as the zoning text. What's your pleasure there?
I mean, I would like to do that. Yeah, we could.
On the idea that thinking about what spaces, what parcels have this zoning is also relevant to understanding the rules. That it's to make those two decisions together instead of one at a time.
Yes, I think so. That makes sense to me.
Yep, me too.
You introduced the resolution at work session. If the town is going to initiate a zoning map amendment, that needs to be voted on and sent to planning commission for action. Of course, the town has the power to amend the zoning map. Members of the public can also petition for map amendments. But when we initiated the resolution, looks like this. So if the town council would like to combine these issues, of course, you have the power to do that. You recognize several features of the current zoning map that are obsolete or not consistent with your goals. You've defined in your comprehensive plan and small area plan that you want to make certain investments, especially in housing downtown. We have market data for that. And this is the list of properties at work session that we discussed for zoning problems. These ones are all owned by the town or by the fire department. They have public uses, but they're not actually zoned public. They all have different kinds of residential zoning. So it might be in order to amend their zoning to public. We have the grant award for wetlands preservation on Bird Street. The Virginia Outdoors Foundation requires that land be zoned for public use. Our town attorney's recommendation is to go ahead and rezone that land prior to purchasing it. And then for the development consideration, Mr. Munson expressed the desire to work on a map amendment as well as the zoning update in order to consider the impacts on the site at the same time. Is that action item? Is that what you were looking for, sir?
Yes, it is. It's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Is this something we want to vote on tonight?
In each case, so the resolution would be up for your consideration, and then all of those items need a public hearing. So councilors would need to set a date for that public hearing at your convenience.
Can we do do we have the time so that we could do it next month? Since we're having a public hearing on the budget and advertising both at the same time.
The batching the public hearings is a good idea. In the case of the map amendments, the planning commission has to take a look at it first. So they will have this up on their May meeting as new business. Mr. Munson was interested in sharing that and had the idea of a joint meeting with planning commission. If that's what you want to do, June 7th would be the opportunity. That's when planning commission would have their regular meeting. So if council wanted to join that at a joint meeting on June 7th, that would let you look at it all the issues at the same time, both bodies together.
And then we could have a public hearing 2 weeks after that.
That would conclude the matter on June 7th.
Oh, okay.
If you wanted not to do the joint meeting, then yes, it would only be a 2-week delay and you could hold your public hearing on the 21st and the whole matter would still be resolved in the month of June.
Okay. Let's ask Ms. Brown what she thinks.
Well, I'm going to be at all of these meetings anyway. So it really is kind of up to the rest of the council if they want to join us on June 7th. I don't know if there is too much need to bring it up 2 weeks earlier, unless there's something kind of in the works that maybe Stuart, you're not telling us about. And if you want to do it 2 weeks sooner, then totally fine by me. It's really up to the rest of the council, I think.
Yeah, I don't think the 2 weeks is going to make that much difference. So whatever's easier is fine.
Yeah, I'm content doing, as long as we can get all of these things wrapped up at in our public session in June. I think I'm content there. That's plenty speedy for me. I mean, I'm actually very impressed with the speed at which this has been addressed. So thank you again to the commission and staff.
Yeah, you guys rock.
In that case, if the joint meeting is not necessary, then you would have the resolution to amend the zoning map and calling a public hearing on the, I beg your pardon. If you want to hold these items together, you might want to wait on calling your zoning text public hearing until planning commission acts on it. If you want to do them together.
But, and that also saves the town a couple of dollars for having to advertise the public hearings as well.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, that would be fine with me.
That's right.
To hold it all together and just wait.
Okay.
Anything else we need to do on this item tonight?
Then the only action item would be the resolution to amend the zoning map. Council's action with that would request planning commission to pick it up.
Okay. So do we ask for a motion on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I hear a motion that we ask the planning commission, that the council ask planning commission to take up the item resolution by the Scottsville Town Council to amend the zoning map?
I move that we request that the planning commission take up the consideration of the rezoning map.
Nice.
We have the draft resolution there to be, just approve the draft resolution is all.
Approve the draft resolution. Okay. Yeah.
I second that very well, almost perfectly reiterated motion.
That's why I don't do this very often.
All right, discussion on the motion. If not, do we have to do, can we do a voice vote on this one?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Is that all we need to do under that item tonight? Okay, next and next to last is the staff reports. So who wants to go first?
Okay, to talk about a couple of small items.
All right.
We were sure hoping to run a COVID vaccination clinic last week. And we made a couple of hundred appointments with the help of our local pharmacists and got the downstairs theater space all set up for a community vaccination clinic. And then came the CDC and health department guidance pausing the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So on Monday, we had to put a hold on our event, which would have been this past Wednesday. That's certainly disappointing, but we hope for re-release and approval of that Johnson & Johnson vaccine soon. In the meantime, the Scottsville pharmacy has a small number of Moderna vaccines and is taking appointments for those. And we all know that the light at the end of the tunnel with the COVID pandemic is everybody getting their shots. So if the trip to north of Charlottesville or down to Lynchburg is a hardship, by all means call the Scottsville pharmacy. We're still working to support many of the community partners that are working in public health. So it's the Yancey School Public Health team, which is running the next vaccination clinic. That's up on Sunday. They have several hundred Pfizer shots and are taking appointments by phone and online now. So if you've got a neighbor who is able to make it over to Yancey School this coming Sunday, that's a good opportunity to get that shot. We're still working with the food bank, as busy as ever, and we're very grateful to Blue Ridge Community Food Bank, working with the Bread of Life Ministries team. Bill Heisen, Susan Cable, and the other leaders there did a wonderful job coordinating some grant funding with the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank, which quickly turned around a $10,000 grant to us to improve the farmers market facility. Folks who were coming to the farmers market found that gravel to be dusty sometimes, potholed and puddly at others. So Bread of Life recommended that paving around the farmers market would be a good use of that grant. So we jumped right on that, and we're happy today to deliver some new pavement on the farmers market using a recycled pavement product. So we're not killing any new dinosaurs for that purpose. We got that job done very quickly within a busy contractor schedule, entirely using funds from the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank. So I really appreciate the Bread of Life Ministries volunteer support to arrange that regional funding and get that major farmers market improvement done right at the start of the market season. Thank you all very much. That just made my day to see that come together. All in my capital there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great news. That is really good news.
That's cool.
Any questions for Matt? If not, Mr. Unsworth, you have anything you'd like to add?
Not much on the financial side. We're still watching meals tax come in this month. Last month was a real slowdown, which always a little bit to be expected seasonally, but seemed to be worse than normal. It was one of our harder months since the beginning of the pandemic for our restaurant owners. So we're pleased to see that March seems to have been a better month than February was for them. We'll continue to see that come in. We're waiting on a few large grant reimbursements that we'll get. One for the facade improvement grant that ARB wrapped up. Another one for the small area planning grant. Combined, those will be almost $40,000 that we should be getting in. I'm sorry, a little over $30,000 that we should be getting in. But that'll be a nice little boost at the end of the fiscal year. We'll also expect to see bank franchise tax come in sometime in the next month. So hopefully by this time next month, we'll have an update on that. We've got the numbers reported to us already, and I believe Matt shared those with you in a work session last month. But it's always nice to see the money in the bank. Two questions earlier this meeting about trash ordinance and public health as it relates to ARB. Those ordinances do live outside of the ARB's purview. So that's the sort of tricky and fine line between their work and the things that a homeowners association might take care of. We have had some contact and cooperation with the with the local health department on things like this in the past, but they have a very high bar for what they can address. So we are aware of a lot of these issues that you guys have brought up with us, but unfortunately, there does seem to be a fairly wide gray area between what the ARB can do and what the health department can do. That these sorts of problems can live in. So we're still exploring effective ways to deal with that.
Okay. Any questions for Thomas? Anything else on anybody's mind that they want to get off?
I had two things really fast, Ron, Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Go right ahead.
There's been a suicide prevention hotline in the works for a while. I'm not sure who administers that. I think it's statewide. And the numbers is going to be a 981. That's what you dial, just like 911. This is 981. The good news is they've created this hotline. The bad news is it affects the way we're going to be using the telephones because in the near future, because of a conflict with a 981 area code, everyone in the state is going to be required to dial the total 10-digit number. Personally, I'll go into my speed dial and just add an area code to every 7-digit number. But look for that in the future, and it may affect some of our, printings, etc. But if you dial it, the old-fashioned way, it's going to be 10 digits. And even if you're calling your next door neighbor. Secondly, we talked a lot about cleanup tonight. Of course, we didn't have the July the 4th parade last year. The year before that we did, and I took part in the cleanup afterwards. I know the town of Scottsville appreciates the volunteer fire department, the service they render, and we have always worked with them when they sponsored this parade. So they are the sponsors. However, at cleanup time on July the 5th, the fire department doesn't turn out to clean up something they sponsored. Noticed this year before last. So when we're talking with the town, and I hope they do get the proper permits and the pandemic sanctions are lifted so we can have a parade this year, I would like to have the town encourage the fire department to turn out in force on the 5th of July, the same way they turn out in force on the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, we have put on the town calendar, the VFW post will be having their annual memorial service on Sunday, May the 30th at 3 o'clock at the Farmers Market Pavilion. Last year, it was just limited to a few people, and we all wore masks, not knowing that that was the start of a long period of wearing masks, but we were still wearing it. So May the 30th, Sunday, May the 30th, 3 o'clock, VFW Memorial Day celebration will be held at Farmers Market. Anything else from anyone? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
And a second, and thank you. Appreciate it. We're adjourned.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, y'all. Stay healthy.
Yep.